we're going to do in this episode, we're going to do start to finish a trademark application for a clothing brand, for a logo, TS standard, and intent to use. Okay. So as always, the way this starts is you want to go to tsdr.uspto.gov. So when you go to tsdr.uspto.gov, you'll land at this page right here. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to click on File Online. Now, I cheated. So before this episode started, I logged into uspto.gov. But when you get to this site, this will also be open, so you don't have to log in to get to here. But you're going to click on Initial Application Forms and start your application in TIAS. Now, one thing I want to point out is that if you don't yet have a USPTO.gov account, you have to make one in order to get to this portal. But what the system would have prompted you to log in, okay, at this point in stage. Again, I was already logged in, so that's why it takes me here. We're going to do a standard application. All right, so we're going to do it as if, so I'm going to do it for my company, okay? Again, start to finish, this is exactly how you do it. One thing I did do, so you're going to hit continue. One thing I did do before the show was I actually have a logo already made. We're going to do the same Lace Up brand. So the first part of the application is indicating who owns the mark. I don't stress this enough I didn't stress this enough in the prior videos, but I just want to make sure that it's crystal clear. The owner of the mark is a person or company that is in charge of the nature and quality of the goods. So in this case, we're going to do, it's going to be my LLC. This could be your C Corp, whatever it may be. For DBA, make sure that if you're going to use a DBA, make sure it's actually a DBA. Don't just check DBA because you want to be using some other name. Make sure that you actually have it registered as a fictitious business name with the county that you're in. Again, this is a limited liability company, so you're going to have to state the state that it was incorporated in. So in this case, my LLC was incorporated in California, and then you have to provide the address information for it. So let me make this a little bigger here. So the mailing address in this case, we're going to use our legal address. Oakland, it's an impact hub, co-working space. And you don't need to, so if you want to keep another address private, you can uncheck this box if you have a domicile address. This really is more for non-businesses, or I suppose if you're using your home address to sell your clothing for your business, you might want to consider using this, but it just maintains a level of confidentiality. Your phone number, not required. I usually recommend, keep your phone number off this stuff because this all becomes public record, even while it's pending. And then fax number again, if you have one. If you have a front-facing business number, though, you can fill all this in. Email address, this is required. So we're going to do our business address. Website address, again, this is optional. Let's just throw it in here. Give me a warning because I'm not putting in my phone number. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now in the prior sets of episodes, we were doing this where we would just put in the word here. That's a standard word mark. Remember, in this case, we're doing what's called a design mark. So it's a special form mark. So you have to click the special form button. Once you click the special form button, the site takes you to this page here where you can actually select the file of the image that you want to upload. Now, one thing I want to stress again, and we had this, we had a little mistake that I messed up about 3 episodes ago, where I didn't upload a JPEG. I uploaded a PNG file, and so this actually delayed our show a bit, and we got this error. So just keep that in mind. It's got to be a JPEG, and then also the dimensions on the pixel. It's got to be between 250 and 944 pixels. So it's got to be within that range. So in other words, your image can't be in any one dimension more than 944 pixels. What I personally like to do is I like to actually take the image, assuming it's high quality, and make it so that it's right on the edge. So it's at 944 in the length dimension if it's a lengthwise image, or in the height dimension if it's a height-wise image. Now, why do I say that? It's because I like to have high-res images in the principal register. I think it looks better when you're going through it and you're looking at the actual logos and when they publish. It's just nice to have high-res images. Okay, so step one, choose the file. So let me select the file. Okay, so we click attach. You guys saw that. So I did a choose file, then I clicked attach. And then if you click it, it takes you to another page, and this shows you Victoria's cool logo. One thing I want to stress, and I usually stress this at the very end, but one thing I want to stress is this design that you submit, you cannot change it after you file. So you can't go back and say, oh, you know what, actually, I want these diagonal lines to actually be going the other direction. That's not going to fly. You have to submit a whole new application. Why do I say that's a problem? Well, it's a problem because you have to pay a whole new filing fee. So just keep that in mind. You want to make sure that this is, in fact, the actual design that you are going to be using. Now, you might say, well, what should I do if I'm not entirely sure that this is the design that I want? Well, then file a word mark. Design marks are awesome. They're great, but just keep that in mind. You have to make sure that that's actually the design that you want to protect. Okay, so the literal element is any actual word or text or letters that appear in the mark. So if it was your initials and some cool design, you put your initials in. But here, it's just the word lace up. We're not claiming color as a feature of the mark. I recommend you can claim color as a feature of the mark if it's in fact distinctive and is used as a source identifier. But generally, what I recommend doing, I don't like claiming color as a feature of the mark because it narrows the protection too much. Why be stuck on a narrow range of color? So I like to be broad. Even if you're doing a design mark, keep it as broad as possible. So I do not check this claim color as a feature of the mark. So I check this box here. Again, if I was claiming color as a feature of the mark, then I would submit a color drawing, right? That's why in my notes here, I say grayscale, black and white. This isn't always the case, but it usually almost is pretty much always the case, unless you really are using color as a source identifier. One thing I want to say also is you have to describe, yeah, that's right. You have to describe what the mark consists of. So in this case, we're going to say it's the word stylized lettering of the word lace up with, how about a ribbon? No, we said a lace extending below the words. There we go. And then you don't have to add the period at the end, just so you know. It's going to automatically add the period for you. So once you hit next, we're almost there. Now we're at the part where the application really is different from the TS Plus. So in the TS Plus application, remember, you had to use canned selections for the goods. Now with freeform text, you can enter in anything you want. So we're going to click enter freeform text, and then we're going to click add goods and services. Now here, remember, we're doing a clothing brand for a company. So we would do class 25 because we're going to be deciding what goods and apparel we're going to be selling. Christmas sweaters. And just to start on the market, let's do Christmas and holiday, yeah? We're going to click section 1B. Now remember, as I said before, companies like to file section 1B applications because it gives them an opportunity to secure the mark before they start investing in all the branding. So you file a section 1B application, it gets examined, the examiner gives their opinion as to whether or not there's any likelihood of confusion, and assuming there's no likelihood of confusion, you'll get the stamp of approval pretty early on within a couple months of filing. So section 1B application, really good way to secure the brand before you start investing in the brand itself. So we're going to do a section 1B application. This text basically says that you have a bona fide intention to use the mark in commerce. It just reiterates what a section 1B application is. So once you click assign filing basis, we're almost done. We're going to check that box, and then we're going to hit continue. But I'll just note here, you see your text is saved. So clothing and apparel naming Christmas and holiday sweaters. And then there's also an assigned filing basis. So section 1B, so you know you're good to go. So when you hit continue, we're almost done here. So now we just have to enter in the reference number. In this case, we've been doing, I think, STL. This is probably TO2. And then here, email addresses. You can put up to 4, but I always recommend at least put, if you have someone you work with or someone on your team or an assistant that helps you or a business partner, you're going to want to put their email addresses here. So I'm going to put Victoria here. She's going to be my business partner in this venture today. Now, One thing I want to note, whenever you file a trademark application, your email is going to be used for communication from the trademark office. So it's really important that you put emails in that you actually check. So if you have other emails that you check more often for some reason, put them here. And if you need to add more, just separate them by a comma or a semicolon, like that. So yeah, really, really important. Make sure that you keep people that need to be in the loop. So we're going to hit continue. And here, this is it. We're at the very end, basically. This is what's called the declaration or validation. So in order to submit this trademark application, you have to make a certain sworn statement. Okay. So the first sworn statement that you have to make is that you understand this is a Section 1B application and you have a bona fide intention to use the mark in commerce. So that's this section here. Note there's an or, right? So we have a bona fide intention to use the mark in commerce. The second checkbox is saying, as far as we are aware, there's no one else who has a right to use the mark. So we have a right to use this mark. And then the third checkbox is just saying that there's factual support for the statements that we made in this application. The very last checkbox is just saying that we understand that we're signing under penalty of perjury. So we could be subject to fine or imprisonment if we're not telling the truth in this application. Now, to sign, it's actually really easy. All you have to do is put your name within slashes. I think yesterday, I just used my initials. It's really easy. But remember, you have to put the forward slashes in. You will get an error if you do not put the forward slashes in. And then the date signed, if it just auto completes it for you, it's nice. And your name, again, you have to do this format where it's last name and then comma and then first name. And then for the position, I usually just do managing member. But again, if you have some fancy title like president, put it in here. And then for phone number, we'll just put our business number. Okay, and then when I click validate, it's going to take me to the very last page where I can review the application prior to filing. Okay, so this is your last shot. Once you hit submit, that's it. This application's gone in. You can make amendments during prosecution, but you cannot amend the actual design. So that design that you filed, that's the design you're stuck with. So let's just review the application real quick. Again, this is the literal element of the mark lace up. It's special form mark, also referred to as a word mark. And this is the text that describes what the actual design is. So it's stylized lettering of the word lace up with a lace extending below the word. And again, pixel count's acceptable. That's because we kept the image within that 944 dimension. And then this is our address, so standard text, so 2323 Broadway, okay. And email. This email is really important. This is actually required. And it's a limited liability company. Again, if you're doing your C Corp, you'd put C Corp, and then you give the state that you registered it in. So you could C Corp, Delaware. Okay, class 25, that's for clothing and apparel, and this is a description of goods. And we're filing under Section 1B. This is our docket number to keep track of it. If you just have one trademark application, docket number is not going to matter as much for you. For us, we handle hundreds of cases, and so for our firm, docket numbers are really important because it helps us identify and keep track of different cases. Now, again, managing member, this is the validation section. Once I hit back, we're ready to file. Now, I want to stress again, this mark, you cannot change it. So make sure that this is, in fact, the mark that you want to file on. If you mess this up and you have to go back and fix it, you can't. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do a whole new application. Now, one last thing I want to stress. If you make a mistake in any part of this application, it's not a big deal. It's really easy to fix. All you do is click go back to modify. They make it really convenient in that they store and save all the data in a session. So you're not going to lose any information. So if you need to go back, even to the very beginning, it'll be okay. Very, very last thing, remember, you can save this form. So if you click save form, what it's going to do is it's going to download what's called a .obj file. That .obj file is the entire application session for the session. So you can take that .obj file, save it, and then come back tomorrow, upload it, and it'll again, start to finish, it'll have all the information, so you don't have to go back and re-input it. This is what I recommend doing if you're not 100% entirely sure about something. You want to save it so that you can go back and modify it later. Maybe you want to make sure that the right you have the right website address, or it hasn't been put up yet. Whatever the case may be, if you want to wait a little bit, just save the application. That way you don't have to go back and refill it out all the information all over again. So Once we hit pay submit, oh, you have to check this box. This is just saying, hey, no refunds. Okay, this is the no refund box here. Okay, so it makes you check that box. Once you check it, all you do is hit pay submit, and we are done. Now, we have to do, of course, one more thing. We're not going to do it in this video, but you have to pay. Okay, so it prompts you, you click the credit card debit button, and you can enter in your payment information. So I just want to stress one more time before we wrap up the video. It's really important to understand that this is just the initial application filing process. So once I had paid, if I had paid, I would have then received a filing receipt confirmation from the trademark office. And that filing receipt confirmation includes what's called the serial number. That serial number is tied to your application throughout the entire process. Okay, so throughout the entire process, your email, that serial number is going to be used to identify your application, and also after. So that serial number is actually tied to the trademark forever. So just keep that in mind. You'll be able to look up the status of your trademark application if you have the serial number.